the power of clarity. This is a big one for me because why this is so important is because I've realized that sometimes people are not clear with themselves in terms of what they want. So I just talked about desire. Let's connect that to number one. Clarity about what you want is so important, right? So if you're going to California, I'm here in Chicago. If you're going to California, you need to say, I'm going to California. If you're going to Texas, you need to be able to declare, right? I'm going to Texas. If I'm going to Washington, D.C., it has to be clear, right? And the power of clarity is you want to understand yourself first so that other people can understand you, right? Because when we don't understand what we want, it's extremely difficult to show up in the world and expect people to follow you. Like, people don't like following leaders that don't know. Like, where are you going? We don't know. What are you doing? I don't know, right? Right? So the way to be clear is you need to spend time with yourself. So maybe that's one action item is invest time in sitting with your own aspirations, right? Being clear, the clearer you can be, the more effective you're going to be, right? Because it's about communicating with yourself, aligning your desires, and then showing up with the world to say, this is who I am. This is what I'm going after. This is what I'm solving. Like, no question, right? Because when people don't do that and I'm engaging with them, that's where I see them sitting on the fence. Can you, will you know? Like, it's this idea of, I don't know if I can. I don't know where I'm like, it's so permits me to say it, so it's such a nonsense. It's you can't get anything concrete. It's like, do you want this job or not? Right? Do you want this job or not? Right? It's like you're in an interview. Just imagine if every day you're being interviewed about your life, right? In every new day you're having is, what do you want to do today? Because you have the power, as long as you're a free man, free woman, right? Every single day is a gift. What are you going to do? You have clarity in terms of what you want out of this life, out of this day, out of this moment, right? Because people that don't, it's so, right? It's wishy-washy. It's whatever will be. It's being blown by the wind. There's so much uncertainty. I get it. But here's the key. There are external forces that you and I will never be able to control. What they, them, all the they, thems that people say, oh, it's their fault, right? Government, this, you and I, we can't control that. So this conversation is about what you can control. And in order to be clear, it also requires this power of awareness and perception. And awareness and perception is largely shaped by the stories we construct, out of what we believe to be true, right? They are the stories we share inside of our own soul with ourselves where nobody's looking, right? And then the ones that other people in the community we tend to buy into or we sell to them. These stories shape how we are showing up every day. So in order for you to tap into the power of clarity is, what stories are you telling yourself? What stories do you believe? What stories have you been told? And once you know that, the question now is, with where you're going, right? With where you're going now, what new stories do you need to come up with that will help propel you forward? And it's this idea of answering some of these questions on the page, right? What's the quality of you understanding your own internal desires, your own needs, the needs of other people, right? Why do you need clarity? Is that without clarity, you're likely to miss the mark. Like, without telling your GPS, I'm going to California. If you just start driving, you end up where you end up, right? You get what you get. The default is what you get, right? Is that, but once you gain clarity about where you are right now, in relation to where you want to go, then we can start focusing on how to get the map and the skills and the strategies and everything, the resources we need to get there, right? Something kicks in inside our being to start solving this puzzle of life, right? Is that you are equipped with intelligence, but if you don't give yourself something to solve, and if you don't give it a vision of the possibility, right? Because that vision is going to propel you forward. The moment you say, I am going here, this is where I want to go, something kicks in our being that starts attracting the skills, it just starts attracting the things we need to get to where we're going, right? So clarity is also knowing your starting point, right? You know, when you punch the destination address into a GPS, the GPS also needs a reference point, right? It needs a reference point. So part of clarity is to say, how did I get here? Like where I am right now. What have I believed to be true? The good, the bad, the ugly, right? I always say, let's own our stuff. Let's own our stuff. Let's take responsibility of the greatness. Let's celebrate our accomplishments, but let's also say, I could have done that better, right? But here's the thing, but quickly shift to how am I going to show up now? Because the reality is I've seen this power that you can actually change your being in a moment. You can change your mind in a moment. You are empowered to say, I was going left, I'm going to make a turn and I'll start going right. Right? That's also something incredible about the human mind, is that in an instant, something can click. So it doesn't have to be 10 years. In an instant, something can click with enough strength and capacity to start pointing you in a new direction, right? The other thing is also this clarity of, okay, now I know where I am. I don't want to create, what patterns in my past don't I want to create anymore? It's the start, stop, continue. What new things am I going to start? What am I going to stop doing? And what am I going to continue doing? So start is new behaviors, new patterns, right? Stop is killing the things that I used to do that will no longer serve where I'm going, right? What got you here may not get you there. That's a saying, right? And then continue are the things that has worked for you in the past. They've served you well, and they will continue to serve you in the future. There's no need shifting those things. And then understanding to say, what's the distance between where I am and what I want to do, where I am going, the things I want to accomplish, the person I want to become, right? You have to start thinking through those things. And there are more exercises we're going to go through that will help you with that as well. How long will it take you to get here? This question is a question that would also come up in when you have projects, when you have ideas, when you have initiatives you want to pursue. What I've found is that many times people underestimate how long it's going to take, including myself. Even for me, after spending years and years being a program manager right? It's easier for you to use that skill, on the job. But when it comes to your own projects, ideas, initiatives that you are driving and you're responsible for, we usually underestimate how long it's going to take. Let me paint a picture. You don't know if that business, the vision you have for it may take you 10 years or 20 years or 5 years or 2 years. We tend to think it's overnight, that in 6 months' time, everything will be like click, click, right? Part of this program is to help people see how to accelerate that process. But it also begins with serious awareness, right? Because when we are not aware, it breeds discouragement. Because if you're not aware that it's going to take 5 years and a year after you've not seen the outcome, you're like discouraged. Like, I thought it would be this quick, right? I thought it would happen overnight. I thought, right? And to be honest, we did that to ourselves. It's like we did it to ourselves. But that's why if you look at traditional school system, the reason that people don't get discouraged is because before you actually enroll, they'll tell you you're going to spend 4 years in the school or 5 years, right? So you've already prepared your being for that journey. But for everything else in an unstructured way, even though it might take that same 4, we didn't prepare for 4 years. We didn't. We prepared for 1. We prepared for 6 months. And when that stuff starts stretching 1 year, 2 years, and you're like, whoa, nobody told me, right? It's because we are pursuing things in an unstructured way. We don't have the right data. But in traditional school system, they'll tell you all the knowledge we want to impart to you right now. Okay, we've broken it down into this number of semesters. Semester 1, we're going to teach you this. Semester 2 will teach you that. Semester 3, 4, right? And every single year, you're going to go home, come back for more. You go home, come back for more. And in 5 years' time, we would have taught you everything you need to now go out there and perform as a medical doctor or as a this or as an engineer. That's the human mind needs that level of clarity to not be discouraged, right? Because if you're sitting for an exam, and we are in exams of life, seriously, if you're sitting for an exam, if you don't know when the exam is going to end, it's actually a more painful process than if you knew when the journey ends and when you begin a new one. But your ability to be able to creatively tell yourself a new kind of story of what you are experiencing, right, limits the pain, reduces the pain of that journey. So, for example, I joke around like, oh, it feels like I've gotten a PhD in the last 4 or 5 years. I joke around like that. I also joke like, if you come into my academy, right, you're going to read. I tried preparing people like, you're going to study. Like, you're going to really, really study. You need to invest like a good 12 months to acquire those things. Like, I try to set the stage because I know we need it, because we always assume it's overnight. And I found that no, it doesn't happen that way, right? So the other thing, also connecting with desire, is this idea of when you arrive at that space, would you recognize it? Would you recognize it, right? Because what happens is that people keep chasing, and they're chasing the wind, right? Nothingness, and they get burnt out, because they don't even know when they arrived, or if they've arrived, or if they would ever arrive. So that if there's a way you can capture how you think you're going to feel when you arrive at maybe a milestone, your memory would be triggered when you arrive. But if you don't know what it's going to feel like when you're actually successful, it's very, very, very difficult for you to celebrate what you've accomplished. Right? So for me, as example, part of where I am at right now is knowing that I have arrived at a certain destination that I set for myself when I left corporate. You see my point? It feels like I've arrived at that spot. And when you now get there, it also then allows you to open a new chapter. But oftentimes people don't close a chapter. People don't flip that chapter to say, okay, we've ended this chapter, let's start a new one. So the power, what will allow you to do it creatively and effectively, is to just ask yourself this question: how would you feel when you accomplish A, B, C? If you can own that feeling, trust me, when you get there, something inside you will say, good for you. There's something inside of you that will clap for you and say, wow, we did it. That feeling of we did it is because, your being is like, what we set out to do. You want to climb Mount Everest. When you get to the top, you better know you got to the top. Otherwise, you're going to not end. You're going to see the pain, not the gain. Right? When that cycle of process is over, you want to be able to focus on the gain and not the pain that got you there. Even for us that are mothers, right? It's that process of, now you have your baby, you forget how you got there and you move on, right? I know I'm totally just trying to be funny here, but I see it as well, because if you don't forget the pain and you're focused on the pain, not the gain of who you've become, you're not going on the next journey until you wrestle with, fixing that pain. nothing new, because the next journey is also going to attract its own new stuff, right? So anyway, so it's also how to heal. So in concluding this first module, right, use the power of your imagination to gain and communicate clarity, right? So is this thing of stimulating your like listening to the side of yourself that is almost childlike, right? It's like, you know, as kids, we dream, oh, mommy, I want, like we think we can do anything, right? Kids, it's like, there's no stopping kids. What do you want to become? Astronauts. What do you want to become? This. If you can regain that sense of possibility and activate that ability to dream in terms of limitless pursuits, it's the best thing you could ever do for yourself. And it's like, because for me, when I sit with successful people again, I'm telling you, I'll sit across from somebody that has retired and you still see their eyes. They're still like kids in a candy store. They are having a blast. They are enjoying themselves. They are pursuing new dreams. They're creating new dreams, new relationships. And for some reason, they are enjoying life more than the rest of the people. Because it's like the older they get, the more childlike they become. They have this new, they're experiencing life in a very fresh, dynamic way. Like, ooh, what would it look like if I could do this and that and this? I'm going to check this. I'm going to test this. Meanwhile, there are so many of us that will say, oh, no, we kill those things, imaginative explorations, right? No, I can't go to France. No, I can't go to Uganda or Rwanda. No, what will people say? Like, no, 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 right? You start saying no to your imagination. So this is this idea that just explore, right? Pick a book, dream about places you want to go, things you want to do, you know, the island you want to buy, you know, the yachts you're going. Let it go out. Let it go out, because that thing will propel you forward as well. Just own it, claim it. And maybe one advice I'll also give here is that one of the mistakes that I think people make, and people ask me this a lot, don't share your dreams with small minds. I'll just put it there. Maybe we'll talk about that later, because this is something people have asked me over and over and over again, but maybe we'll talk about it if somebody has a question about that. Okay.